In this video, I'm going to show you how to make these really rather lovely tissue paper flowers. They're really quite simple to make, can be a little bit fiddly to get all the petals fluffed up, but they don't take very long, and with practice you can get really quick at them and you could make a whole bouquet. They make lovely decorations, or you could give them away as gifts, whatever you fancy. So let's get making. Now the good news is that for this you don't need many materials. You need some tissue paper, a pair of scissors and a pipe cleaner. If you haven't got a pipe cleaner, then a bit of wire will do, or if you've got sandwich ties, you know, the little wire tags that go around bags, those will work just as well. If you haven't got anything like that, you could even use a bit of string. So our first job is to cut our tissue paper into sheets. Now, the bigger the sheets of tissue paper you use, the bigger your flower will be. And generally, tissue paper comes in quite large sheets. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the folds that are already in the tissue paper, and we're going to cut it down into sheets that are the same size as each other. So I'm going to do a fairly small one. Now you'll need at least 3 pieces of tissue paper once it's cut down to size, so 3 pieces the same size. But the more layers you have, the fluffier your flower will be, the more petals it will have. And you can see I'm cutting through multiple layers here, and I'm just folding it as I go. I'm not too worried if there are creases or little jagged bits at the edge, it doesn't matter. So I've got quite a lot of sheets here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got 8 sheets. So it's going to make quite a poofy flower. So when you've got them all cut to size, stack them up nicely and neatly. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold them in a concertina. Now you can see I've got a rectangular shape. So I've got the long way facing away from me, and that's the way that I'm going to concertina. So I'm going to start by folding over my first layer. So I'm folding all 8 sheets of tissue paper at once, and I'm folding them up by about 2 centimetres. It doesn't need to be exact. I'm just going to run my fingers over there so it's nice and firm. I'm now going to flip the whole lot over, and using that first fold as a guide, I'm going to make another fold again through all of my layers, so that I'm starting to build up my concertina. Okay, so that's my second one. So I'm going to flip the whole lot over again, carry on using the folds I've already made as a guide to make another fold, flip the whole lot over, use the ones I've already folded as a guide, fold those over, flip the whole stack over, fold them up, flip the whole lot over, fold it up, one last time, flip the whole lot over, fold it up, or in this case I'm going to just fold it down because it's a little bit easier. Don't worry if they don't meet up exactly, it doesn't matter. Once the bloom is opened out you won't be able to see. So what I've got is a concertina of sheets of tissue paper. So all my layers of tissue paper are together and they're all concertinaed, folded up in the same way. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold my concertina in half, just give it a little pinch there to mark the halfway point, and I'm going to use my pipe cleaner to hold that in place. So I'm just going to bend my pipe cleaner round the bunch, twist it a couple of times. Now what you can do, you can either leave these ends loose and use them to attach a stem or something like that, or you can just fold them up into the centre of the flower. So I'm just going to fold mine up into the centre there. So I've got my concertina of tissue paper layers bound together in the middle with my pipe cleaner. My next step is to make some rounded petal shapes. So with my scissors, I'm just going to cut through all of those layers to make some nice rounded petals. And again, don't worry too much if it goes a little bit off course. Once it's opened out, it won't show. I'm going to fold that up so I know what I'm doing on the next one, and use that as a guide to do exactly the same thing on the other side. There we go. So I'm just going to round that off. And I've got a lot of layers here, so it's quite tough to get through. If you've only got 2 or 3 layers, it won't take you nearly as long. So I've got my concertina folded in half, bound with my pipe cleaner, and I've rounded off each end of the concertina. So now we're ready to start making the flower. So I'm going to pop it that way and just gently open it out so you can start to see how it's going to be like a flower. Now this is the bit where you just need to take your time and be a little bit delicate, because what we're going to do is open it out layer by layer. So if you remember, I've got 8 layers of tissue paper here. So what I'm doing is I'm finding the first layer. So I've just got 1 layer here, and I'm very gently going to work my way around the flower, just gently lifting it up from the other layers. There we go, like so. I'm going to do the same on the other half of the concertina. So I just want that first layer, I just want 1 layer of tissue paper, just to gently separate it out. Do take your time with this bit, because this is the delicate bit. This is where it's very easy to rip the paper. There we go. So that's our first layer. And what we're going to do is we're basically just going to carry on lifting up the layers in order. So that was layer 1. Let's move on to layer 2. And just gently lift that up towards the centre. And the same on the other half of the concertina. Lift it up nice and gently. Don't rush. If you do accidentally rip it, don't worry too much, because to be honest, it'll be hidden within all the layers. So that's 2 layers done, and you can start to see it's puffing up quite nicely. It's going to be a really pretty flower. So I'm just going to carry on and separate out my other layers. So if we remember, I've got 8 layers to do. So that's a lot of separating out. Okay, so I'm on to my last layers to separate out now. So you can see I've got a really nice big frilly flower here. Just separate out that last layer, last 2 layers. There we go. Working my way around nice and gently, just teasing those layers out. And you can see there, I've got a really nice big bloom, and I used a yellow pipe cleaner, so if you look carefully it looks like there's a little yellow centre in my flower, but if you don't want that to show at all, use a pipe cleaner that's the same colour as your paper, or make a feature and use different colours. Now this one's just made with white tissue paper, but you could, when you're cutting your sheets of tissue paper, cut 2 different colours. So I've got 2 layers of purple tissue paper here and 4 layers of pink tissue paper. And again, there is a tiny little yellow centre in there, but with the 2 colours as well, it starts to look really quite beautiful. So this was the first one, and this one only had 4 layers, and you can see compared to the one with 8 layers, it's much less frilly, but it's still beautiful. So you can just have a play around, use whatever colours you've got, make yourself a range of blooms and just enjoy experimenting with them. So have fun guys, and don't forget to show us how you get on.